Welcome to this video in which we are going to be discussing Final Fantasy VII Remake in depth with three qualified professionals of the series. We have associates in this. So joining me is my good friend Jem, aka Well Dressed Jem, and my good friend Diane. So
Oh,
these are the two men I'll be discussing this wonderful video game with that I spent a lot of my quarantine playing. So just like to get general thoughts, like what are your two's like experience with the series, and like how did you feel like going into this and everything?
Okay, so Final Fantasy VII was a childhood game of mine. Like my earliest memories were playing the original game. I never really I kind of just watched my brother whack things with a sword. So that's like how I learned about it. But then like overall, as I started getting older, I started getting like a part-time job myself. I remember buying another copy of FF7 because I couldn't find my original copy that we owned as kids, and I was able to play through the original. So I was like, all right, I can kind of see why people like this game a lot. Um, and when like the remake was like announced, I was like, this was like I think like 2 years after I beat the game, and I was like, oh, nice, actually. I'm very like subdued when it comes to like getting hyped. So like me saying nice and clicking my teeth, it's like the same as someone jumping off the walls for something like that. So I couldn't wait. And like I remember hearing that the game got delayed, and I'm like, come on, man, I just want to play this game already. And I got the game. And I don't know where 30 hours of my life went.
Yep, I think that's kind of the boat we're all in right now. This game is there's a lot to take in. It's very weird, even for the series standards, I feel. Um, but yeah, Dan. So I know your perspective is a little
no.
different because you've is this the first time you played FF? Oh no, you played F Final Fantasy VII before, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I am still not even at the point where I can like distinct between every number in the series. Like I know six, seven, eight, and that's only because I've like listened to some of the music from some of them, and I played a bit of six and I played a bit of seven, but I would not be able to tell the difference between say like one, two, three, four, five. No, so I'm pretty new to the series, and I kind of have a general idea of the plot before I played it, but a lot of it was really new and surprising to me. So kind of the opposite.
That's interesting. I think that's an important point of view too, because like I do think this game is strange, so I don't know necessarily if it's a good place to start for people in the series. For reference,
It is.
yeah, honestly, I know a lot of
Sorry.
people. No, you're good. No, a lot of people have been saying it's not. I kind of don't know. Like this is, I played pretty much every game in the series. Final Fantasy VII was the first game I played in the series, and it came at a time in my life when I was like definitely really struggling. So it's a game that I have a lot of fond memories of, and it's definitely my favorite game I've ever played. But this remake, it doesn't cover all the content in the original game. It's just about the first 5 or 6 hours, which take place in a city called Midgar. But they really fleshed it out here. I know a lot of people were really concerned about the game's length, but I'm really happy with what they did here. It really feels like tonally they kind of got everything down here, and I'm just really excited. Still, I'm excited to go back and play it. I'm working on the platinum trophy right now, so. But yeah, just like even like watching gameplay of it, like you could tell they put an immense amount of work into every facet of this game. Just the way it looks, it presentation wise, it's something else. I think this game is too strong for the PlayStation 4. It just looks too good.
Well, one of the things I've actually been doing for a while is now that I've finished the remake, I've been going back and watching some of the scenes from the original. Um, and just like the way they translated everything, it's like they didn't leave any part of the original game behind, even though it looks kind of like an entirely different game. Like, I don't know. I think it's pretty amazing.
There's definitely been like a lot of there's like a lot of upgrades in the game, and it's like interesting because one of the biggest things like me and my brothers we used to do is we would pretend to voice act the characters and stuff. So it's like it's actually like really funny, like playing through that childhood game, but this time actually hearing people, actually talk like these characters as opposed to like a 5-year-old trying to sound like a girl,
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's always something that kind of came up. For those that don't know, I mean, most people probably know this, but Final Fantasy VII Remake, obviously it's a remake of an older game where there was no voice acting. So, these characters did have voice actors, like Cloud had a voice actor, and Barrett, and the whole crew, all the main characters did, but the voice crew in this game is completely different, and I think I was definitely one of the people that felt more negatively about it at the beginning because over the years I've become so comfortable with the original voice cast, mostly the English voice of Cloud. Um, but
Those voices were like all Advent children, like from the movie.
yeah,
Or...
yeah, they were from they were
Okay.
basically from anything associated with the Final Fantasy VII property until Remake came out. I don't think there was ever any other voice actor for any of these characters, but
Apart from like Mandy Moore, I think, unless she voiced her Aerith in Advent Children, I'm not too familiar with that because I watched the movie in Japanese.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think the funny thing too is Aerith's voice actor now is like she's just like someone who does let's plays online. Like she's never done a voice acting gig before.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious.
Okay, so like I guess I'll give a little bit of like what my thoughts on the voice acting. First off, like with Cloud, I guess I'm not as like big into like I don't remember much of the FF7 like extended universe, I'll call it. So like to me, like they sounded similar with Cloud. Like people are free to disagree with it. Like I probably will go back and watch the tape between like English dubbed Advent Children and remake Cloud. But Aerith sounds exactly the way I pictured her to sound, actually.
Yeah, no, for sure. She's like super cheery, super excited.
Cheery, flirty, even pushy at points too. Like it was like perfect. Like if any, Barrett of course was casted
He's
perfectly.
perfect. He's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone was casted pretty well. The only character I had a bit of time adjusting to was actually Tifa, but like that's not me saying like I didn't like it. I think I forget her name, but like I think she did a great job as Tifa.
I think it's Britt Baron, I believe. Britt Baron.
Yeah, Britt Baron did an amazing job. Brianna White, perfect as Aerith. Like and it
Who's
took a
Barrett?
bit. John Bentley, I think his name is.
Okay.
And I'm forgetting what Cloud's voice actor is.
Cody Christian. He's apparently one of the main characters in Teen Wolf. So, which is, mean, pretty fitting for Cloud, honestly.
Yeah.
Like let's not even pretend it's not. It totally is.
It's a little weird to me though because a lot of people are saying stuff like, "Oh, this sounds exactly how I thought she would sound," or how I thought he would sound. But to me, having pretty much no nostalgia for these characters, they also sound the way I thought they would sound. Like just looking at like, what little I've played of the original PS1 version, like.
Mm-hmm.
I think the casting was great, and I thought it was a really nice, bold decision to just completely recast everyone because I just don't think a lot of Japanese games have good casting.
Like when it comes to the dubbing process?
Like Square Enix games. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that to an extent. I think that a lot of times they'll use the same voice actors over and over. For like pretty much every project. I think it's really good. Like they do have some of the mainstays of like sort of like the Japanese to English like voice acting industry. Like there are a few voice actors, a few voices in there that you'll notice if you play other games that are like kind of in that genre.
Like for example, like Erica Lindbeck, she is a big voice actor right now. She's known for like Futaba. I think she's the current voice of Barbie right now.
Yeah, she is. She's the current voice of Barbie. Yep, she is.
Yeah, and she uses the exact same voice for Jessie.
For sure.
It's a good voice. I love Jessie's voice.
It's a great voice. I love Jessie. She still owes me a pizza, but
Yeah, she only uses the best ingredients. So
she only uses
That's a line in the game. She's like.
That's a line in the game. I promise. I'm not just saying random things out of context.
Because there's a line in the game where Cloud. This is like one of my favorite moments where you can say to Jessie either like she basically is in love with Clown. She's like so unsubtle about it, and she's completely always flirting with him. And she's just like, yeah, just come over my house. No one's gonna be home tonight. Just come. And you get to choose, and you can either say like no promises, I'll think about it, or like no way. And if you say I'll think about it, she like flips out, and it's like such a great scene. And you get to see she does an amazing job, Erica Lindbeck, just specifically with this character. Like I never thought, for the record, a lot of people who have never played the original Final Fantasy VII, the characters of Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, who are like, they're part of the Avalanche movement, which Avalanche, obviously they're kind of like an eco terrorist group against like a big corporation. So it's like kind of a morally gray thing. But this game makes them really, really likable, way more fleshed out than I honestly ever thought they would be. Yeah, like Jesse's one of my favorite characters now, like straight up.
You know who else is amazing is Wedge.
Wedge is
Oh my God,
incredible.
I love Wedge.
Wedge
I
is
love
incredible.
Wedge. He adds like a good spice of comic relief that like in like a pretty dark game that of like the original FF7 was. He like it's nice because I've always believed in like the classic rule of to make a good drama you need a little bit of comedy and vice versa. Wedge is just that little comedy that you need in this game of FF7.
Yeah, he's voiced by one of the characters in Breaking Bad as well. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah. I heard a lot of people instantly recognize him.
That's funny.
I don't know the name of that character because I've never seen Breaking Bad, but
Yeah, another great scene.
how far can we talk in terms of spoilers and stuff?
We can talk like generally, just not. I don't want to touch upon the ending really, because I want people to experience that for
because
themselves.
I wanted to talk about. There's a scene in I guess it's like chapter 12 or something where Wedge is arguing with one of the Shinra soldiers.
Oh, I know
And
what you're
he's trying to
talking
get him to
about.
open the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was the scene that got me to love him.
I think one of the biggest things, so again, like one of the biggest things we're probably going to be doing during this is comparing from the original to the remake. Is in the original, you only get like, well, first things first, what the remake covers in the original is like the first 4 to 5 hours, or even say 6.
Yeah,
that
around
got
there.
turned into 30 plus hours worth of content, and so
How long
like,
is the PS1 game?
like I think like 40 to 50 hours, I
I
believe.
would say probably if you're fast enough, I've beaten it about 30, but that's if you're like really speeding through it, 30, 35. But yeah, like Midgar itself from the original is probably about a 5-hour portion of the game, maybe even less. Like if you can like play it really fast, you could probably get through Midgar in like 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah,
in the
easily.
original game. But in this game, it's straight up like without any
30
side quests,
hours.
30 hours. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in the entire game is when Wedge shows you around the Sector 7 slums. So for those who don't know, like Cloud and Gang, they live underneath basically like a giant metallic plate, and basically the rich people live on that plate. But in this scene, he's like kind of showing him through the slums where he lives, and he comes across these cats, and he's like, "Hey, Cloud, these are my cats," and it's an amazing scene. And he's like, "This is Big Ums and this is Big Daddy." I don't remember what their names are, right? But it was an amazing scene, and he like shoves the cats in Cloud's face. And especially for like a character like Cloud, who's so like he doesn't really want to connect with people, or he tries to pretend he doesn't want to connect with people. It's such a humanizing scene for both of them. It's little stuff like this that makes the remake so special. Like I don't know how I went through the original game without scenes like this. It's really incredible.
They are a bit forgettable in the original game, and yet the remake, they're no longer cutaway characters. Like they're like a part of like something that like I love. Like that's like the biggest thing I always say is like I love like the interactions that I had with like Jesse, Biggs, Wedge. Like like Christian mentioned earlier, like he was saying like oh yeah, like I can't get through the game like without thinking about this, but like it's insane to think that like these forgettable characters are just bam, they're like they have quotable lines. You can memorize them.
And one thing that just kind of popped into my head is like, I feel like games are the only like medium that are remaking things to this extent, right? Like, I mean, I know movies get remade all the time, but not like this. I feel like there was so much that they added in between that just felt like it belonged for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I know I can't really say that because I haven't played FF7, but that's what I've heard every single FF7 fan say about the remake.
Uh,
And
it
I
feels
can't even
significant.
tell the difference between which parts are new and which are not. I have to ask, hey Chris, is this character a new one or is this one from from the original?
Yeah.
I think I've done that at least 3 times.
Yeah, no, you have. Yeah, I think specifically about you said that about the wall market characters. But before I actually do want to talk about our favorite chapters because we've already talked a little bit about the characters and the voicing, but I just want to talk about Barrett because I think they did an amazing
Oh
job
yeah,
with Barrett in this game.
Oh my
he's the
god.
best.
He
His
is
voice.
Oh my
he
god,
is both
perfection.
serious and comic relief.
He's the best
And
father ever. Like
he is oh my god.
I just love him so
Um,
much, man.
there's like one scene where he wants to see his daughter and he's like getting mad because
Well, Cloud goes up
I
to his
shouldn't go into too
daughter.
much detail.
Cloud goes up to
Oh,
his daughter and intimidates her, and Barrett's like, "What are you doing with my daughter?" and like pushes Cloud to the
Yeah.
ground. Yeah.
and it's like you actually like believe like you can tell he's like a really loving father. Later on in the game, like I think around like chapter 7, like almost at the halfway point, he's panicking and he like yells at Cloud. He says like, tell me that she's safe. Like even if you have to lie to me. And Cloud says like, even if I did lie to you, and even if I did lie to you, you'd probably just get more mad. And he's like, yeah, I'd probably
Oh, actually,
rip your arm off.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
the one that says that. He says, "Give me something to hold on to. I promise I won't blame you." And then he cuts himself off and says, "Wait, what am I saying? I'll definitely just rip your head off."
And it's like
That's what he says.
He's so
Cloud doesn't
human.
even say anything.
it's like it's so human. No one is like like a superhero, like an invincible person, essentially.
Yeah, no, the interesting thing too is that Barrett, obviously in the game, like you honestly kind of play as like a morally gray eco-terrorist group. Like your goal is to go around and basically bomb these reactors where it's basically draining the planet of its like energy, basically of its life energy. And something that he has to do is kind of put on a big smile and be confident for everyone else. You see it very early on where he literally says, like, look at all this destruction we caused, but don't worry, I'm here to take the load off your shoulders no matter what your concerns are. And it's
Yeah,
ridiculous. He's like a father figure to everybody, and he's so cool and he's so relatable. And in the original game, in the original Final Fantasy VII, Barrett was never done like this. Like
He was
not one of my
angry.
he was not one of my favorite characters in this game. I think Barrett is like the best thing they did with this game. They made him into such a
Yeah.
human character. He's
Yeah,
actually brilliant. Yeah.
I love Barrett. Like it's like the fact that like yeah, like I made that off comment. You know, in FF7, the original Final Fantasy VII, he was just very angry. Like if you asked me to describe Barrett, I'd be like, he's angry. He kind of swears a lot. Yay.
Well, I think a perfect scene just to like talk about that. There's a scene where he's on the train, and there are some Shinra employees that are basically bad mouthing Avalanche, which is kind of like this eco terrorist group, and he just kind of enters this like ranting, preaching mode that you didn't really get to see much of in the original game. Like um, he's so much more passionate about what he does in remake.
For sure. Yeah, no, you didn't really get to see it. You just kind of saw what he did. And also, there's like no moral dilemma in the original. Like you would bomb a Mako reactor in the original, and the party members would not bat an eye at any of the destruction they caused. But the entire second chapter of this game is the first chapter. You play as Cloud. You join this group as a mercenary. They're paying you to do this. You help them blow up the reactor. It's a success, and then you go back home. But on the trip home, you see all the destruction that is caused.
Oh
And
my
like,
god, there's so much detail in that scene. Like
yeah,
you don't like you
There's
hear
like
it from
100 extras.
yeah, you hear of course from Avalanche like after this, but you can hear people like while you're walking around like, where's my sister? My sister's here. Oh my god, I was supposed to go to work tomorrow.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Ah,
Like
there's a guy who says, "Oh, I work at that reactor. I was gonna go there tomorrow."
yeah,
Like,
like
They are
human
messed up.
yeah, like they're scared. They're like, I need to get to sector 6. My
Yeah.
sister's in sector 6. Like
and I was not surprised at all when I saw the credits roll and I saw a whole page of all these extra voices. It was just listed extra voices, and then you just see like it must have been 100 names of people who did all these
Oh
random
my
side
god.
characters that were on the street that no one else, no other game developer puts the time to put in these games.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's all usually just no voice acting.
Hmm. Or you get like a grunt because like that's
Right.
how it is nowadays.
Yeah, because a lot of people, and me especially, because I'm not, I'm not the kind of person who, in classic RPG games, I don't just run up to every character and talk to them. But I really appreciated having the characters talk around me in this game.
Yeah, no, that's totally reasonable. Like, I think this scene like kind of sets up like chapter two as a whole kind of sets up what remake does. Final Fantasy VII Remake does. Like, it's just
Yeah,
it takes the content from the original and it adds so many layers of depth that you never even knew it needed. Like now already in chapter two, it's not even an hour into a game. You're questioning the morality of the good guys. Like this was never something that was questioned in the original game. Like it was kind of implied, but you never saw the results of your actions. Like literally, like this entire city's on fire. Like it's implied that you've killed people, just like from this explosion alone. It's honestly a heartbreaking scene. I think it adds so much depth to everything. It makes everything in this game morally gray, and I think it's just it's what this game is all about. Just adding upon that.
sure.
I feel like a lot of these characters, they I don't want to say they were one note because like they were pretty deep like in the original game, but like they added like something different about them. Like I mentioned that like they made Aerith like flirty in the original game, like Aerith is kind of just like, let's get him, guys.
Yeah,
Like,
she's way more boring.
we're the good guys, right, guys? Like she's like the go team cheerleader, that sort of person.
Yeah.
In this game, they kind of give her some spice. They give her like some spunk. Like, and I think one of the biggest things I want to talk about, at least with Aerith too, is that she's like such a goody two shoes in the original, but like in the remake, like she's not the type to swear. She swears in the game,
Oh yeah.
like, and it took me so off guard that I genuinely started laughing for like 3 minutes. I had to pause the game and like get a drink of water, just because that was so out
Oh,
of
when
left
she
field.
falls off the ladder.
Yeah, she falls off the ladder. She says it, and then like
Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing for like 3 minutes, and like I think there's like another couple lines. Oh, of course, there's like a couple of guys like so Aerith asks Cloud to be her bodyguard. It's a point where like there's these two like sleazy guys trying to flirt with Aerith and force her to do like things she's not comfortable with, and she just looks at Cloud and says, "Cloud, requesting permission to kill."
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, that's at Walmart. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm just imagining just original Aerith like not liking that in the
But it
slightest.
doesn't feel different, does it?
It does.
Like it feels like that's just how she always was.
It does feel. It feels different in
There's
the fact
hints
that
of
like
that. I
there's
feel
hin-
like.
there is hints of that in the original, but like
Not like this.
so,
Yeah.
not like that. Yeah, and it's like, but it's like it's appreciated.
I feel like
I love
there's hints to it in the original. Yeah. But I feel like this is like it's almost it doesn't even feel like this game takes the characters. I don't want to say this game takes the characters and makes them better, but it takes them and it makes them like who they are.
It rounds them out.
Like I
Everything
could
makes
never,
more sense too, because like
I can never
I
go
feel
back.
like if I knew Cloud, I would want to mess with him, like
Yeah.
just like all the other characters do.
Oh, just like Biggs and
Like-
Wedge. Yeah.
Aerith and Jesse, all they do is try to get a rise out of him and try to like get him to react in a way that doesn't fit his like cool dude persona.
Oh my god.
Yeah, honestly,
It just makes so much sense.
honestly,
three
Cody
separate-
Christian too. He does such a good job, like with his voice work for Cloud. Like I was so nervous. I think Cloud is a really easy character to voice act in a very one-dimensional manner. Because when you look at him on paper, it's like, oh, it's just cool guy. He has sword. He doesn't like to talk much, but like he's not really about that. He's
No.
kind of like more like he's one of those guys. He acts like that, but like he's genuinely like a very caring person. He just likes to pretend he's not. He's like everyone in high school. Like you want to pretend you're the coolest person ever, and he somewhat
Yeah.
succeeds because he's really strong. But at heart, he's like super soft, man. And I feel
The
like
kid.
yeah, exactly. And like Cody really pulls that off. I think Cloud, honestly, in this entire cast. Like I think Barrett's voice acting is amazing, but
Oh my god,
Cloud has to be such a complicated character to portray in like a
you
good
think it's
manner.
easy. Yeah, like you think it's easy when you're like doing impressions of him. Yeah, it's easy to do impression of the voice, but like you have to get the emotion perfectly.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
like when those emotions are there, like they're genuine, they're so earned.
like I can walk around going, not interested. What are you doing? It's like okay, I can do it. I can sound like him, but I can't sound like him.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure. But yeah,
Um,
just kind of going off that. So I think kind of like rounding up our thoughts here. Um, just go around the table. What did we all make of this? What did we get out of it? Would we recommend it? And just what do we make of this strange but very developed and honestly smooth product? So like, what do you guys feel about this?
I think like FF7 remake was I think it was like an 8 out of 10 game. Um, I think it was like an 8 out of 10 game. I have like other further thoughts that I can't really discuss because I do want to avoid spoilers for
Yeah,
like people who haven't seen the game.
there's definitely some really big stuff. I'm not going to spoil it directly here, but the ending to this game is something else, and it's not something that should be spoiled. It's something you should see when you beat it. So
You should see it for yourself.
make your own opinion on it.
Do I recommend this for people? I feel like the game is niche to a degree, but that's probably because the only people I really talked about it with are people who have played the original game. So the fact that I have a second opinion from someone like Dan who isn't like too familiar with the game, it gives me that like reassurance that like I can be like, yeah, you can play, yeah, this game's pretty cool, and like I can possibly introduce someone to the world of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I think in terms of
Um,
like the way it's presented, I think this is. I don't want to say it's the best way to get into the series because the ending would definitely make me question that. But I do think the way it portrays Midgar is perfect. It's brilliant. Fun fact: they had an entire team for this game just devoted to the game's lighting.
oh yeah.
Like it is a project. Like they
The
tried
cinema
so hard.
the cinematography is so, I don't want to say hilarious, but it's like it's definitely something to like be amazed at. Like there's a scene in like the first hour of the game where Tifa asks you, "Hey, do you want a drink?" And you can choose like hard as heck or like nothing big. And if you pick hard as heck, you like literally get like 7 different camera angles watching Tifa mix you a drink.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's something else. But
It's just jarring because you're not used to seeing that in games all the time.
I felt like I was watching a movie.
it definitely feels
That's
like
because
yeah.
I mean it kind of is a movie.
I feel like a lot of Japanese developers too. Like when I think of like games that feel like movies that I can genuinely say I feel satisfied playing, the list is small. It's like the Uncharted series, The Last of Us, and God of War. That's like pretty much it. I think this is the first game made by a Japanese developer where I can look at it and say, yeah, they've reached that level now. Like, yeah, Square Enix has caught up. I think this game is. I don't think it's like revolutionary in the way Final Fantasy VII was, like the original game, because I think Final Fantasy VII, the original game, was a game that made people realize that games are more than just games. It can be like kind of like an art form. But I do think this game is something really special. I think it's a must buy. I think it's something that every gamer should at least experience once. My brain tells me to give it a 9 because I don't think it's perfect, but my heart tells me it deserves a 10. So I don't know exactly where that puts me, but it's definitely become one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm
Yeah,
incredibly happy with how it came out.
I'm happy with like a good chunk of the Midgar section is. I do think like the ending's very controversial.
It's not
I
for
don't want
everyone. Yeah,
It's not for everyone, and I know for a fact it's definitely not for me. I'll be completely honest with that.
yeah.
I'll be honest, like I don't want to give the game like a 7, but like the ending's
What do
genuinely
you mean? It
pushing me.
already has a 7.
I like that.
That's its thing, man.
But
Um,
but just because the fact that I'm giving it like a lower tier score, like a 7, a 7.5, does not mean that I did not have an enjoyable time with it.
Yeah,
Like just because I had one big negative experience doesn't mean that A, other people aren't going to have that experience, and B, I did not have fun up until that point.
yeah. I also want to note that the way I talk about this game comes from someone who is a mega fan of not only Final Fantasy VII but like its universe. Like this game has been important. This series has been important to me since I was probably about like 11. So this is the game that was definitely made for me. And as a mega fan of it, I'm not really disappointed at all. I feel like they've pretty much delivered about the quality I was expecting. I think my expectations were high. I feel like they've been met. And I'm excited for part two, no matter what that actually brings. So I guess that just leaves Dan, right?
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I know you said the game feels like it's made for you, but in a lot of ways, I feel like it's made for me too, because they, like, even though I don't have that, want to see all the original scenes come back and all the original characters, like, it just, everything that culminated from the original writing plus what they added on, like, created just the kind of story that I just love to watch. So I don't know. I also feel like it was kind of made for me in the sense that, like, almost every single scene, all the battles, just the way it feels to just like walk around this game, like every single part of this game hit all these chords with me. I really, there were very few low points. I would honestly, I would give it a 9 out of 10, just because, like, in my brain there's maybe one disappointing thing for every 9.
Yeah.
And I know that's a really simple way to put it, but, like, there was so much that went above and beyond, like, things that I would consider like an 11 out of 10 or something crazy. There's just so much. Like, the soundtrack is incredible.
Oh, we didn't
Playing
even
this
talk
game with
about it.
headphones, like, do not
we
play
need
this
to
game. Do not play this game on a bad speaker or something. Get
just-
some nice headphones.
Please just trust us.
Turn
The
the
music
lights
is
out.
amazing. Yeah, it's some of the best gaming. It's
Yeah.
it's the soundtrack of the year. Anyone who disagrees is incorrect. It's literally the soundtrack of the year.
The only reason why I like have 35 hours in the game is because there's jukeboxes scattered throughout the game. There was like a good chunk of times where I just took my controller, I sat down, and I just listened to it with some headphones and, like, just sitting on my couch, like, just listening to all the music in the game, all the remix
I had
music.
to buy all the records.
Oh my god, yeah, I made that like a point too, and, like, there's only like one track I don't like, and that's the hip hop Chocobo theme.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it.
Because the guy he's like, yo, man, this is gonna be the best thing, man. This is gonna be for reals, yo. And I'm like, for reals, yo. Let me listen to the song. And I listened to it for 30 seconds, and I immediately changed it to something else. I'm like, this guy is he's going places, all right.
You like it? You feel it? You mean that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what guy you're talking about too. So if we take all those scores, it's like an 8 and 9 and 9. Is that 26 out of 30? I'll give it the 10. I'll give it the 10. I'll give it the 10. I know it's not flawless, but
can I turn mine to a 7.5 then?
oh goodness. Okay,
I don't think I give anything a 10 because I'm weird.
You know what? I said my brain's telling me a 9, my heart's telling me a 10, so I got a 9.
Your heart.
I got a 9.5. So you got a 7.5.
Yeah.
That works. That's a nice not decimal number.
All right, so 9 plus 9.
There were
27 out of 30, I believe.
Let's see.
26? 26.
18.5. Yeah, 26. 26 out of 30.
Still a really high score, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is definitely a game that everyone should at least look into. I think it's important.
Oh yeah, I
for the
forgot
industry.
to mention. Like, yeah, of course, I would recommend this to people. I don't think you need to have played any Final Fantasy games.
I don't think so.
I don't even think. Like, okay, maybe I wouldn't recommend it to someone who isn't, like, really into games, because this it's really, like, I feel like you need to have at least a little bit of, like, appreciation for, like, a really difficult game with, like, a really complicated battle system to want to play this game. But other than that, like, pretty much anyone who likes games should play this game.
Like, not even that, like, experience it. Like, if you have a friend who wants to play it, grab some popcorn, man.
Yeah, watch them.
Watch them.
This is a good ride.
It's a fun ride. It's pretty. That's the biggest thing I kept saying when I was playing it. It's pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous. It looks so good.
Like I think it was genuine. Like I think it was, like, amazing. Like, I was like, every time, like, you're on, like, rooftops a lot, and I just would find myself just like playing around with the camera just to see the different angles I could get from the rooftop.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, so I guess that's all we have to say about it. I think next time we talk about this, we might be talking about some spoilers. So that will be a lot more intense than this, that's for sure. But,
Oh yeah, trust me, it will.
yeah, I think that's all we got to say. Any closing remarks?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Shine on.
Yeah, man, I'm really happy with how this game came out. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. And yeah, that's just our opinions. Make sure to check out Jem's YouTube at Well Dressed Jem. I have a link to it in the description, so you could check it out there. Does a lot of fighting game stuff, some voice acting stuff, so check that out. And yeah, we're out.
Yeah, don't check me out. Go away.